evening, Honorable Minister. Good evening, members. May I, on behalf of the Honorable Minister, point out that we sincerely apologize for coming in late. The Honorable Minister was tied up with a lot of other prior assignments, and we are most grateful that you took the time to wait for the Honorable Minister's statement. Honorable Minister, may I take this opportunity to introduce Dr. Portia Manangasila. She works in the Ministry of Health and Child Care, and she is responsible for epidemiology. She has come in to join the Honorable Minister, standing in for the Deputy Minister for Health and Child Care, and she will be assisting the Minister with taking more information about the health issues. Honorable Minister, the House is well constituted, our members from the media houses ready for your statement.
Thank you very much, Director in charge of our Media Services at the Ministry, Major Mtambuzi, and I want to welcome Dr. Manangazire from the Ministry of Health and Child Care. And once more, I want to thank you very much. This is, again, a two-way communication. We continue to talk to you because you have got a very important job of making sure that you inform our public. So we really appreciate the service which you are doing. So good evening, my fellow Zimbabweans. For close to 6 months, we as a nation have had a radical lifestyle shift in response to COVID-19 pandemic. The measures that government began implementing in March 2020 under the COVID-19 response and action plan have played a central role in the country's combat this virus, COVID-19. The more we have learned about COVID-19, the better placed we have been to fight this global pandemic as a country. In May 2020, His Excellency President E.D. Mnangagwa, Zimbabwe would slowly return to a normal way of life, but would adopt strategies for exit from the lockdown, which was informed by the country's imperatives and peculiarities. Over the past few months, we have moved from a total lockdown as part of efforts to gradually restart the economy without undermining efforts to contain the pandemic. Key to this gradual restarting of the economy has been the prioritization of efforts to reduce transmissions of COVID-19. Government eased lockdown regulations by extending business hours, resuming intercity travel, domestic flights, and international flights, which started today, and also tourism. And this has been done over the last few weeks. This week, on Monday 28th September, schools opened for examination classes, and today, 1st of October, international flights resumed. Government would like to clarify the following matters with regard to the easing of some lockdown measures so that we set the record straight. Under testing at ports of entry, in order to facilitate faster and easier discharge of our returnees, it was decided that those travelers who presented COVID-19 free certificates, which were issued 48 hours before boarding the plane, would be discharged to go home for self-quarantine at the port of entry, that is. However, those travelers who display COVID-19 symptoms, that is temperature, high temperature, coughing, and or sneezing, those with those symptoms, regardless of having a valid COVID-free certificate, will have to be tested at port of entry, alongside with those who would not have brought that COVID-19 certificate. The cost of this testing, which is $60, will be borne by the traveler. Then under civil servants salary negotiations, government is aware of the challenges facing civil servants, including teachers, committed to improving the welfare of its workers. Consultations are currently underway to consider the request by the Apex Council in the last negotiating meeting, which was held with government. On its part, government has maintained the $75 COVID-19 allowance up to the end of December, and the 40% cost of living adjustment, which the workers have requested government to employ. And this has been paid and will reflect in the civil servants' accounts by the end of day tomorrow. Normally, government does not effect salary adjustments without a signed agreement, but we have had to go out of our way to cushion our dedicated workers. Meanwhile, negotiations at the National Joint Negotiating Council will continue, and any agreement arrived at will be honoured in the spirit of collective bargaining. Government has had a long history of negotiating with its workers in good faith, and increases negotiated should not work against the stability that has been achieved on the financial markets and price stability, as this will fuel inflation again and erode the gains we have achieved. I appeal to civil servants to be patient and allow negotiations to be concluded. On the reopening of primary and secondary schools, the reopening of primary and secondary schools has been done in 3 phases. The first phase, which was implemented on the 14th of September, we saw those who are writing Cambridge exams starting with classes. On Monday, 28th September, was the resumption of classes for the 2023 examination classes. That is grade 7, Form 4s, and Form 6. The second phase will be implemented on 26th October 2020, and will see the resumption of the 2021 examination classes, which are this year's grades 6, Form 3s, and Form 5s. The third and final phase will be implemented on 9 November 2020, where all other classes will resume learning. Presently, the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education is seized with finalizing catch-up learning strategies for learners so that they make up for the time lost during the COVID-19 lockdown. Bearing in mind that our children have not been in school for the last 6 months. Those who are writing national examinations are receiving accelerated catch-up learning to prepare for their exams. Measures are underway for Phase 2 and Phase 3 learners to also hit the ground running support programs. Fellow Zimbabweans, the accelerated catch-up learning and remedial support programs are part of immediate, short, medium and long-term measures to counter the obvious and hidden impact of the COVID-19 lockdown on our learners. Our goal as government is to make sure that learners will proceed to their next grades in 2021, having caught up with their lessons. Schools will therefore close on the 18th of December 2020 and reopen early on the 4th of January 2021 to make up for that lost time. The resumption of learning for examination classes has been smooth, given that there had been a 6-month break. Every school is being manned by a head, with each school that has opened for the exam classes being administered by a headmaster or headmistress. Meanwhile, basic PPEs that include face masks, sanitizers, and disinfectants have been distributed to all public and independent schools. My fellow Zimbabweans, the opening up of the economy is a testimony of our resilience as a people. We have weathered the initial COVID-19 storm, and now as we enter a new phase of the fight against the pandemic, let us continue to show our resilience by accepting our new reality, the new normal. Now is not the time to throw caution in the wind. Instead, we should learn from others and continue to practice preventative and protective measures, such as properly donning our masks, physical distancing, and washing our hands or sanitizing our hands. I thank you sincerely for coming. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Request that maybe you, the journalists might have one or two questions,
Sure.
you attend to them. Members of the media, the Honorable Minister is amenable to answering a few questions from the House, if there are any, but if it's clear, you can always tell us. Okay, so I will begin with yourself, and then I will come to you, and you tell us your media house, and give the
I
Honorable
just
Minister a question.
wanted to allow Dr. Manangazile to speak to the numbers which are beginning to, of COVID positive cases which are beginning to go down, if you may.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Minister. So you can pack your question, you ask it after, allow the Dr. Posherman to explain issues around testing.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, and good evening to members of the press. I'll just give a rundown of the current statistics. As of yesterday, the 30th of September, we had recorded a total of 7,838 cases. Of those, one was newly diagnosed from a total of 467 tests that had been conducted, PCR tests. So the yield was 1 positive. We have to date 6,303 recoveries, of which 181 were newly recorded as of yesterday. So that leaves us with 1,307 active COVID-19 cases, a total of 228 deaths. Cumulatively, we have conducted a total of 120,270 PCR tests, and the rapid test kits conducted is 106,867. So those are the current statistics pertaining to COVID-19 in the country.
Thank you very much, Dr. Manangazile. Okay, I therefore now open up for questions. Yes.
Okay, my name is Privilege Moshamir, Deutsche Welle, German international broadcaster. My question is directed to Dr. Manangazile. In regarding to the travel requirements, we see countries like South Africa right now. They're saying they need a certificate that is produced maybe within 72 hours. I'm asking particularly for Zimbabwean nationals. We have been allowed to go to South Africa. Say somebody gets a certificate here that is valid for 72, that is valid within the 72 hours required by South Africa. They get there. We have some people who are going down for graduations at various universities, and then they have to get a test again in South Africa for them to return back home. If they are going maybe say for 48 hours or those within the 72 hours after getting a test here and testing negative.
Okay, so thank you for the question. So I think what we have to understand is the risk is actually with traveling, because the conveyance that you are using to move from one place to the other, or even the people that you are going to meet, is what puts you at risk. So if the requirement in South Africa is 72 hours prior to travel, you get to South Africa. When you come here, as the Honorable Minister has pointed out, we require you to have a certificate that says you were tested 48 hours before you started your travel to Zimbabwe. So if you are still going to make it within that time, then it's okay with us. Yes.
But if not, they have to get
then
another
you must
test.
Be tested again.
In South Africa.
Remember, even on your own, for your own safety, for your own health, you would want to be tested each time you think you have been exposed. And travel is one of the biggest exposures, and this is why there was international lockdowns and we had lockdowns here. So it is the risk factor.
Thank you very much, Doc.
Thank you, Takuchi Mwakwe from Zanu-PF. To the Minister of Information, you mentioned that civil servants should be patient as the negotiation process unfolds. But parents are already pumping out money, transporting their children to schools where they have no teachers. What's your message to those parents? Whilst you've called for civil servants to be understanding, but they've also come out and said we are incapacitated. The 3,000, 4,000 that they got at the end of the month is not enough for them to be going back and forth from their homes to the schools. Transport costs are high. So what's your message to parents who are now sending children in the past couple of days and there have been no teachers in the class? Thank you.
Taco, you decided to go to one point and you decided to throw out some other things which I've said. I want to go back to that civil service salary negotiations. I think clearly I said government is aware of the challenges facing civil service, including teachers. I think that's how I started this my statement. And so this is why the negotiations are going. This is also why there is an increment in a salary adjustment, even where there is no signed agreement, because government is aware. And this is precisely what the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education, together with the Minister of Public Services, Labour and Social Welfare, are working on. Negotiations are ongoing.
Yes, thank you, Honourable Minister. Yes, gender, don't you have any female journalist that wants to ask a question? Okay.
Are you genuinely gender?
I think you know me, Honourable Minister. Yes.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. I had hoped Deputy Minister of Health would...
Media house and name?
Okay. My name is Blessing Chigwenembe. I'm a freelance journalist. So I'd hoped the Deputy Minister of Health would be present. So I'm just going to ask the question, maybe you may be able to answer.
The ministry is represented.
Oh, okay. So...
But it depends what...
The question, okay. So there's been a case saying that your government, the government, are closing in on making it hard for them to travel or to go to greener pastures to go look for other possible jobs because of the issue of the government, having to sign their certificate of good standing. What would your response be on that issue?
I think first of all, before I even ask the doc to answer that, I want to say, Blessing,
yes.
We want to remove this thing about you government. Okay. There's no you and them and us here. Okay. We are moving together. And I don't know whether this is factual, what you've just said. I don't know what your sources are, but I don't know whether Doc would like to try and tackle that question.
I'm not in the picture.
Yeah. So I suggest if you have got that person, you can directly contact the minister.
Thank you very much. Last question. Yes.
Samuel Takawira from 263 chat. Honorable Minister of Information, do we have...
From?
263.
263 chat.
Yes, Honorable Minister of Information, do we have timelines as to the opening of our borders, that is Beit Bridge, the land borders?
Yesterday, just yesterday, there's a statement in the Herald today. The Minister of Home Affairs actually gave a statement. It's a process, and as we say, all what decisions which are taken, there's a scientific survey, there's a scientific study, and we move with the experts' advice so that we can move on to the next stage.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Thank you, Dr. Manangazia. Thank you, members of the press, members of the media for coming.